So the only question is, where do we want to begin?
You know what, guys? We always start in the East. I think we should start in the West this year.
Okay, but specifically where?
Well, specifically in the Pacific.
Okay, sounds fun.
And let's start from the bottom up, and I think we have to talk about the San Jose Sharks. They had an awful year last year.
Yes, they certainly did, but I think it's safe to say that the teardown is now complete and the rebuild is fully underway. There's a lot of excitement with some of the young talent there, so some cause for optimism.
Absolutely. First overall, Macklin Celebrini. I can't wait to see what this kid will do in his rookie season. And he's joined with a couple of first-round picks, Will Smith and William Eklund.
Yeah, those are all exciting young prospects up front, but they've also made a big move acquiring maybe their goalie of the future, Yaroslav Askarov. Now, I'm not really sure how much he's going to play this year, but he'll probably get in there for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how he can stand up. He's only 22 years old, but one of the best goalie prospects in hockey.
Very much a young team, and they will have a young coach as Ryan Warsofsky coaches the team for the first year.
Yeah, he's only 36 years old, which, by the way, same age as Mark-Edward Vlasic. He's got a lot of stories to tell, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say we don't expect too much from this team this year, but at least going forward, there's a foundation to build from.
Now, let's stay in California for our next team. We've got the Anaheim Ducks, and I think they're a little bit further along in their rebuild process. They've got a lot of really, really nice pieces. Guys are going to get big minutes this year. I think this is going to be a real year of growth and discovery for the franchise.
They do. Another young team. I am really curious to see, where does Trevor Zegras fit into all of this?
Yeah, lots of rumblings in the offseason about him being dealt. He stuck around. Value probably not that high. They're hoping they can get something out of him, 50, 60 points, hopefully.
Yes, I'm very excited to see what Leo Carlsson can do in his sophomore season. They were managing his minutes in his first season, so he's going to be off the leash a little bit, and I'm excited. Also, Mason McTavish, very excited to see what he can do. A lot riding on him. I think he's going to turn out to be a great player. And last year they acquired Cutter Gauthier, a somewhat controversial player, but I think he might fit in well in Anaheim.
He's physically mature. I think he can make a big impact in his rookie season, maybe be in the running for the Rookie of the Year.
And they also have a couple of young D prospects.
Yes, so Mintyukov debuted last season and looked excellent. This year, looks like Owen Zellweger might be running their power play. He's a blue chip prospect on D, offensive guy. So a lot to be excited about on the back end as well.
But there are some questions in net. John Gibson, who's been there for a long time, just had his appendix out. So this opens the door to Lucas Dostal.
Poor old John Gibson. Seems like every single year there's an injury or some other ailment that slows him down. Doesn't seem like that long ago he was one of the most exciting young goalies in the league. And now, well, this might be his last year in Anaheim. Does have that big contract, though. Just got to wonder how much value he has at this point.
I kind of like the new uniforms. It sort of matches the whole Orange County thing. And I'm also excited to see Radko Gudas as the captain.
Yeah, a little sandpaper back there. He might bring everybody together. So I think if everything clicks into place this season, we could see a fair amount of improvement from this team.
Yeah, still not a playoff contender, but should be a fun year in Anaheim.
Next, guys, let's talk about the Calgary Flames.
Do we have to?
Well, come on, Mark, you're from Alberta?
Yeah, I'm just not that excited about them. And honestly, I think most people in Calgary aren't either. It's a team that's trending down fast.
Yes, for sure. I mean, this is a team that really doesn't have any superstardom, does it? I mean, they were hoping for Jonathan Huberdeau to be that guy. He has fallen off a cliff. Can he regain any of his former form? I don't know if he can. And Nazem Kadri, another guy, what does he have left in the tank? I just think top-end talent does not really exist on this team.
Now, they do have a couple of guys who are entering into their second season in Calgary with Kuzmenko and Sharangovich, and I'm really curious to see what they can bring.
Yeah, these are both guys that were actually acquired in deals where they were getting rid of productive veterans. I think Connor Zary is another name to get excited about, former first-rounder. He's going to get some pretty heavy minutes this season because they need some more offense.
They certainly do. There may be a glimmer of hope between the pipes. Young prospect Dustin Wolf could take a step forward this year. He'll have to fight for starts against Dan Vladar. So we'll see how that shakes down in the crease.
Yeah, I'm not so optimistic about that either. I'm just not really sold on this D-core after shipping off Noah Hannafin last year. They do have Mackenzie Weegar, Rasmus Anderson returning, two pretty solid players. Beyond that, there's not a lot. There is some hope that Daniel Miramanov, acquired in the Vegas trade with Hannafin, could fill the gap as a top four defender, but he is far from a sure thing.
Yeah, more than a little worried about this team in Calgary. They might be going down in flames. This could be a potential lottery pick team.
All right, you Debbie Downers. Let's be a little more hopeful here. Let's move on to a team that has some aspirations for a playoff appearance. Let's go to the Emerald City and the Seattle Kraken.
Okay, well, there is certainly some optimism here, especially at center. They have their two young studs, Matty Beniers and Shane Wright. They did bring in Chandler Stevenson to eat up some of those hard shifts in the defensive zone, and I think this is a guy that can take some pressure off them and really allow them to bloom into full form. So they may have some star power coming up.
Yeah, they sure gave him a lot of money.
Yes.
And another guy that they shelled out to was Brandon Montour. So we'll see how he helps out the D-Corps.
Yeah, he is 2 years removed from his breakout season. Had a good year last year, but I don't know how well that contract's going to age. But again, Seattle's looking to get more competitive, and he was one of the best guys available.
And it seems to me like it'll probably be another year of scoring by committee.
Yeah, lots of guys on the wing that you say, yeah, that guy could score 20 goals, maybe pot 20 assists, chip in some offense. Guys like Andre Burakovsky, guys like Jared McCann. I think they could probably expect for some contributions from Jordan Eberle as well.
And from Denmark, Bjorkstrand.
Yeah,
Oliver Bjorkstrand, lots of talents. These are all guys that can chip in. So kind of the same approach that they had that year. They made a playoff run, upset Colorado in the first round. Scoring by committee, can't really zero in on one line.
Yeah, it makes it tough to play against. And in that, a couple guys that we may see some of this season. Joey Decord had a pretty good run last year.
He sure did.
Yeah, but the man making the big money is Phil Grubauer, so it'll be interesting to see who actually steals the job in the end.
Yeah, it could be one of these classic platoon situations. This has kind of become the norm in the NHL, and I think they'll just ride the hot hand.
Yeah, for sure. So it seems like this is a team that hopes to be playing meaningful games in March and maybe has a decent crack at making the playoffs.
Next up, let's talk about the LA Kings. What do you guys think about this team?
Well, I don't know. Without a doubty, I think there's some trouble now with Drew going down with that big injury. It looks like he could be out till around Christmas time. On the flip side, this could be a huge opportunity for Brant Clark, who is their blue chip defense prospect. Looks like he might get the reins to run that first power play.
Yeah, I think this is a team that could have found themselves in sort of a Chicago Blackhawks position, but they managed to retool on the fly, made a couple savvy moves, and stayed competitive. But I'm not sure they're still on the rise at all. They may be in a little bit of a decline. Anze Kopitar, of course, is a year older. He is really their stalwart centerman.
He sure is. Surprising that he finished third in team scoring last year. They do have Adrian Kempe and Kevin Fiala, two excellent players.
Yeah, for me, the turning point was the Dubois failure last year, bringing him in. There was so much excitement. I remember the preview we did for them last season. We were really high on the LA Kings. That was a miserable failure, and I think that combined with having goaltending that's been really unstable makes them more of a question mark this year.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how Darcy Camper does in net. And Mark, they have your buddy, Big Save Dave.
Yeah, I've never really believed in him. I love the nickname, though, but I think he's a backup at best.
They've made goalies look good there, so we'll have to wait and see there. John, they did bring in some veterans. They brought in Warren Fogle, Jeannot, and Edmondson.
Yeah, these are some depth guys that I think might be able to help them out, but I don't think they're going to make up for the loss of what they hoped Pierre-Luc Dubois would be, which was a replacement center for Anze Kopitar as he ages out.
A lot of grit on that list, but not a lot of speed. I think these are more playoff-type performers than they are regular season guys.
Yeah, and you got to make the playoffs first. Mark, what about their young talent?
Well, that's the other thing, right? So obviously, Quinton Byfield, the second pick overall from years back, he's expected to take a huge leap this year. He's going to be given every opportunity to do so. But a couple other guys, a couple of forgotten prospects, Alex Turcotte and Akil Thomas, two guys that have had injuries earlier in their career. Looks like they're probably going to make the team playing together on the fourth line. These are guys that looked really good in the AHL last year, so that could be a big boost for the LA Kings.
Yes, a bit of a mixed bag, I'd say, for LA, but in a weak division, I think this team has a decent chance of making the playoffs.
Let's move on to Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks were one of the best feel-good stories of last season, but this year, there's a lot of questions in net.
Yeah, Thatcher Demko looked like he was probably going to be fine in the summer, not a lot of worries, and then suddenly the story pops out that he might not be ready for the season. They have a press conference, they talk about this mysterious ailment, and they're really still not sure if he's going to be able to start the year. Looking like probably not at this point, as he has not even started skating with the team.
Yeah, big worry in Vancouver. He is their star goalie. Arthur Shelovs, he played pretty well for them in the playoffs, but they're certainly hoping to get Demko back in full health.
That's right, and they did sign Kevin Lankinen to be the backup, which is probably a good depth move.
Yeah, but also maybe a sign of Demko's situation. Maybe not a harbinger of good things to come.
They still have a lot of top-end talent in Vancouver.
Yeah, you got to love that power play. Guys like Quinn Hughes, of course, the reigning Norris Trophy winner, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, jack of all trades, and Brock Besser, top-end sniper. So that power play should be humming again because they're going to rely on it.
Yeah, and a couple depth moves. They added Jake DeBrusk, who I think is a really great character player. Also, Daniel Sprong, a guy, he never really panned out as hoped, but maybe he can provide a little extra offensive punch.
The guy I'm really looking forward to emerge for them is Nils Hoglander. He put up 36 points last year. Pretty decent for a 23-year-old. I think he could challenge 50 this year if things go his way. He's got some talent.
They also have a second Elias Pettersson, too.
The defenseman. Not sure he'll be much of a factor, but nice little side note on them.
I think they should have a tag team matchup against the two Sebastian Ahos of the league.
Yes, they totally should. Well, you know that Rick Tocchet is going to have these guys bearing down, and they're still a contender for a playoff spot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a relatively weak division, and I think they should be in a playoff spot, but who knows about Demko, right?
Yeah, a lot of questions hanging over this team.
Next, we have to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Vegas will be starting this year without Jonathan Marchessault, the misfit. One of the original misfits is gone.
Yeah, so turning a page here in Vegas, this is a team that is not so far removed from winning a cup, though. And I feel like a lot of people are counting this team out. Last year, they made some big moves at the deadline, picking up Tomas Hertl. He'll be around for a full season, and this is the kind of team that at the deadline, they will make whatever moves they deem necessary to really push them over the top.
And of course, we know how good Jack Eichel can be up front. But Mark, you really like their decor still.
I think it might be the best decor top to bottom in the NHL. I mean, you look at their big three to start off, right? So another guy that got at the deadline last year, Noah Hannafin, you pair him with Pietrangelo, and then of course Shea Theodore. If he's healthy for a full season, watch out. I also think Nick Hague is a really underrated D-man, also quite young. So
yeah, White Cloud.
Zach Whitecloud, Brady McNabb. I mean, the whole top to bottom. Like I said, this is a really good, big, balanced decor.
Do they have any young players?
Well, I mean, I think they have a couple people that can step up in case of injury. Pavel Dorofeyev and Alexander Holtz, I think, are two young players that they hope to increase their role on the team.
I was really surprised the New Jersey Devils gave up on Holtz. I felt that was kind of early.
Yeah, I think for New Jersey, they were looking for a little bit more sandpaper in their bottom six. Paul Cotter could provide that for them. But back on track with Vegas, another guy, a reclamation project from Buffalo, Victor Olofsson, has been skating on their top power play unit. This guy is a sniper and not that old either, so he could also blossom in Vegas.
Now, Aiden Hill returns in net. Logan Thompson is gone, and they bring in Samsonov.
Yeah, so maybe a bit of a controversy in the crease there. Is Samsonov an upgrade over Thompson? Yay or nay?
Hard to say. Let's not forget this guy was a blue chip prospect, and a lot of goalies are late bloomers. He's not that old. You never know. Maybe in an environment where there's less pressure, he could finally find his form.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some questions about Mark Stone. He's been unhealthy. He's battled injury. And what player has harder minutes on his body than Mark Stone? I wonder if he's not maybe entering a late Ryan Kessler stage of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how much can they rely on him to be the beast that he should be?
Yeah, it might be a bit of a gamble in Vegas, but I still like their odds.
And we have to finish by talking about our unanimous pick to win the Pacific Division, the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, no big surprise there. The reigning Western Conference champions came within one game of winning the Stanley Cup, and that's the big question in Edmonton this season. Will this be the year?
Yeah, that is really the only question. Unfortunately, they did lose a couple of their young players, and Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, but they did bring in a couple bodies to replace them. Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, I think, are some nice complementary... Yeah, Skinner. Some nice complementary pieces for Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Yes, I'm really excited that they locked up Draisaitl to that big contract. Hopefully McDavid does the same. I think they're going to make some sweet music in the Champion City.
I think the biggest concern, though, has to be on the blue line. Now, you said they brought in some new bodies, but the new body on the blue line is Ty Emerson. And honestly, I don't know much about this guy. What can he bring? They're hoping he can play top 4 minutes for them.
Unfortunately, Evander Kane will start the season on IR, and he might not even come back until playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think there's any big rush to get Evander Kane back. Hopefully, when he does come back, he's fully healthy. And if the timing's right, comes in for the playoff run, and that's perfect.
Yeah, a little more certainty, I would say, between the pipes this season. Stuart Skinner, questionable as a number one goaltender last year. I think this year he is firmly in place as their number one goaltender. Had a pretty good playoff run. Probably Team Canada's best goalie. So I think some optimism between the pipes.
Yeah, I hold your horses on the Team Canada's best goalie stuff, but he doesn't need to be a world beater. He just needs to be solid and make those saves when they matter. And we've seen a lot of average goalies win cups, and this Edmonton team is good enough to drag an average goalie to a cup championship.
Yeah, and first full season for Knobloch behind the bench, so we'll see what he can do there.
Yeah, I really believe Edmonton is all in this year before that Draisaitl contract kicks in. They got to make a big push. I think they're going to trade some assets at the deadline, get that one big piece, and watch out for them. They're going to be a force.
Yeah, cup or bust in Edmonton.